I was in the middle of brushing my teeth when the doorbell rang. Saturday morning, exactly 8:07 a.m. I remember because I glanced at the oven clock as I shuffled toward the front door in my pajamas, toothpaste foam still in my mouth. When I opened it, I froze. Two little boys stood there. No coats, no backpacks, just a crumpled note duct taped to the older one's shirt. It was in my sister's handwriting. "They'll be fine with you. Don't call me." I scanned the street, no car, no text message, no missed calls. Just two kids left on my porch like forgotten deliveries. I hadn't seen my sister in 7 months, and our last conversation ended with her throwing a drink in my face during Thanksgiving dinner. She'd accused me of stealing her spotlight by talking about my new job. And now this. The older boy, Michael, met my eyes with an exhaustion no 10-year-old should know. His little brother, Ethan, kept tugging at his sleeves like he wished he could hide inside them. I stepped aside. "Come in," I said quietly. They walked past me without a word, Michael holding Ethan's hand like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. As I shut the door, my stomach turned. This wasn't a favor. This wasn't an accident. This was abandonment. And I had a gut-deep feeling my sister might not come back. Maybe not soon, maybe not ever. I'd never been the favorite. Not even close. In our family, my mom had space for only one star in her universe, my sister, Ava. She was the beautiful one. Thick blonde curls, perfect dimples, striking green eyes. By age 11, people were already saying she should model. My mom absorbed those compliments like oxygen. Me? I was quiet. Bookish. Too intense. I still remember walking in on my mom one afternoon when I was 13. She was looking at old photos of toddler Ava, smiling like they were treasures. She didn't hear me enter, so I stood there for a moment before asking, "Do you have any pictures of me?" She blinked. "I think there's one from your 2nd birthday," she said at last. "But you were crying." That was it. I used to pretend it didn't matter, that love wasn't earned by being pretty. But the truth? In our house, beauty was currency, and I was broke. Ava's bullying was never loud enough to be obvious. She'd borrow my clothes without asking, make cutting remarks about my acne, once even telling a boy that I smelled like boiled milk. But the cruelest blow came senior year. I was dating Liam, a little awkward but kind. He liked that I read poetry and didn't wear makeup. For a while, I believed I was enough. Then Ava slept with him. She told me herself, smiling. "He said you're boring in bed." I just wanted to check. When I told my parents, my dad muttered something about teenage hormones, and my mom sighed, "Don't start drama." Ava didn't mean anything by it. That's when it finally clicked. No matter what she did, they'd always protect her. That night, crying on the bathroom floor with my forehead pressed to the cold tile, I made a vow. If I couldn't be beautiful, I'd be unbreakable. I buried myself in school, graduated valedictorian, got a full ride to a top university, and landed a 6-figure job by 24. My parents never once congratulated me. When I was promoted last year, my mom sent a single thumbs-up emoji. Ava's message? Bet it's fake. Can't wait till you get fired. LOL. So when I saw those two quiet boys on my porch, hollow-eyed and wearing mismatched socks, I realized with a sick twist in my gut, she was already doing to them what she had done to me. And maybe, just maybe, I was the only one who could stop it. First night was unsettlingly quiet. Michael and Ethan barely spoke. They ate grilled cheese and tomato soup like it was the first real meal they'd had in days. When they finally murmured, "Thank you," their voices were so soft I almost missed it. Afterward, Michael insisted on washing the dishes. Ethan kept asking where the bathroom was, like he was afraid he'd walk into the wrong room and get yelled at. They didn't behave like guests, they acted like intruders. I set up the guest room for them, 2 beds, fresh sheets, and a nightlight I dug out of storage. I told them they could keep the door open, promised I'd never lock it. They just nodded. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay staring at the ceiling fan, wondering what on earth my sister was thinking. The note she'd left said 8 weeks. 8. I checked her socials, nothing since Wednesday. Her number went straight to voicemail. Even her usual Facebook crowd was quiet. When I called my mom, she answered with a sharp, "What?" I told her Ava had left the boys with me, that she wasn't answering calls, that I had no idea what was going on. "They're your nephews," she said. "Don't be dramatic." "I'm not being dramatic." She abandoned her children without telling anyone. She's under stress. She needed a break. A break? I nearly yelled. This is neglect. My mom went silent, then muttered, "She told me you'd react like this, always making yourself the victim." The words stung more than I wanted to admit. Part of me still wanted her to say, "You're right. This is unacceptable. I'm proud of you." But that would never happen. The next morning, I went through the boys' small bag. 1 pair of underwear each. A single toothbrush for both. No pajamas. Clothes that didn't fit. Michael's shirt had a rip under the arm. Ethan's shoes had holes in the soles. And there wasn't even a charger for their tablet, just a screen full of inappropriate videos with 0 parental controls. That's when I knew this wasn't an oversight. Ava had planned this. Later, I checked Facebook Marketplace on a hunch. Sure enough, days-old listings under her profile for toddler shoes, boys' winter coats, sizes 5 to 8. She'd sold their belongings to fund whatever she was doing. She hadn't just dumped them on me. She'd erased their way back home. She finally called on the 3rd night. It was just after 11 p.m. I'd tucked the boys in. Ethan had wanted to fall asleep holding my hand, and Michael had woken from a nightmare about falling out of a moving car. When no caller ID flashed across my phone, I knew it was her. I didn't bother with hello. "Where the hell are you?" I demanded. A pause. Then her voice, smooth and venomous. "Wow, that's how you greet your sister now. You left your kids on my porch like garbage, Ava. What do you expect me to say? Welcome back." She gave a cold laugh. "I'm on a break. A well-deserved one. You're always playing the martyr, aren't you?" 8 weeks, Ava. No clothes, no food. Nothing. "I knew you'd take care of them," she said flatly. "You didn't even ask me. If I had, you'd have said no, like always." "That's not the point. Actually, it is. You've never done a thing for me. Not once. Now you get to finally repay the universe." Something in me snapped. "You're insane. I'm calling CPS tomorrow. And the police. You're not getting away with this." Her voice dropped, icy and deliberate. "You really want to play that game? Because I can make a call too, straight to your job." My stomach nodded. "You don't know anything about my work." "Oh, I know enough. Your boss is on LinkedIn. Your company has a strict fitness for duty policy. I know what bipolar disorder looks like in a report." "You wouldn't." "I would, and I will." One anonymous email. "A few stories about your panic attack in college. That time you called me from the ER after forgetting your meds. I remember it all." I was shaking. "You'd risk your kids' safety just to ruin me?" "They're not my problem anymore," she said and hung up. I sat there, breath shallow, palms pressed to my eyes. This wasn't just neglect. This was war. Then I remembered someone who could help, Eric. My boyfriend, 8,000 miles away in Australia. I hadn't told him yet. I didn't want to drag him into this. But when he saw my face on FaceTime, he sat up straight. "What happened?" And I told him. Every awful detail. By the end, my voice was cracked and raw. He listened quietly, then said something that shifted everything. "You need to get her on tape." "I don't want to talk to her again." "Once." Calmly. "Get her to repeat the threat. Record it." That's blackmail and abandonment in one go. Then you call CPS and a lawyer. I hesitated, then nodded. He was right. For the first time in years, I wasn't just reacting. I was preparing. I must have tested the recording app on my phone 15 times before working up the nerve to call her. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. Kept checking the settings, making sure the file saved, making sure the microphone worked. I even looked up my state's laws on recording conversations. Thank God, one-party consent. The boys were in the living room playing Mario Kart, laughing for the first time since they'd arrived. I stepped into my bedroom, closed the door, and took a deep breath that rattled all the way down my chest. Then I dialed. She answered on the fourth ring, smug already. Well, that didn't take long. I've been thinking, I said evenly, about what you mentioned, my job. Silence. Then, slow and deliberate, yeah, I figured you'd realize what's at stake. I just want to be clear, I said, watching the seconds tick on the recorder. You were serious? You'd contact my employer and tell them I'm not taking my medication? Absolutely, she said without hesitation. I'll tell them you're unstable, unfit. I'll even toss in the word psychotic if I have to. She let out a sharp laugh. No one's going to trust a nutcase with kids or a corporate paycheck. And you know the best part? It doesn't have to be true. All I have to do is suggest it. HR will panic and you'll be out within a week. I stopped the recording mid-rant and hung up. I didn't feel triumph, just exhaustion. Cold, heavy exhaustion. When I stepped back into the living room, Ethan had dozed off under a blanket, his gaming console still in his lap. Michael sat beside him, trying to read the menu screen. He looked up. Is Mom coming back soon? I swallowed hard. Not yet. But you're safe here. I promise. He was quiet for a moment, then asked in a voice so small it almost broke me, Did she leave because of us? No, sweetheart. She left because of who she is. That night, I let them stay up late. We ordered pizza, made a ridiculous pepperoni tower, watched Home Alone, and threw popcorn at the TV. I even showed them how to build a blanket fort, the kind no one had ever made for me. When I tucked them in, Michael whispered, Thanks for letting us be kids. Always, I said, kissing his forehead. And then, almost too softly to hear, I wish you were my real mom. I didn't cry. Not then. Later, alone in my bed, I listened to the recording again, every word as clear as a confession. And I knew what I had to do, call CPS in the morning not to ask for help but to demand it. They weren't supposed to arrive until 10 a.m., but at 6:43 there was pounding at my door. Not knocking, pounding. 3 heavy, violent thuds that made the frame shudder. I was still in my robe, hair damp, flipping pancakes for the boys. Ethan was at the table, humming while he drew in a sketchbook. Michael was feeding banana slices to the neighbor's dog through the screen door. The banging made Ethan jump and Michael freeze. My pulse spiked. CPS never showed up early. When I opened the door, I instantly wished I hadn't. Ava stood there in sunglasses and a messy topknot, looking like she'd rolled out of bed in yesterday's clothes. Beside her was a man who looked like a wall, easily 6'6", 300 pounds, covered in prison tattoos with eyes like cold steel. Behind them, my mother clutched her purse, avoiding my gaze. Open the door, Ava said flatly. No. The man didn't wait. He shoved me hard into the wall, my shoulder slamming against the light switch. Pain shot through my side and my vision blurred. By the time I caught my breath, they were inside. Get out of my house, I yelled, stumbling to my feet. From the kitchen, Ethan began to cry. Michael ran to shield his little brother, standing between him and the strangers. Where are they? Ava barked. Don't you dare touch them. She turned to the man. Get the boys. Now. He started down the hall. I lunged, grabbing his arm, but it was like trying to stop a freight train with my bare hands. He shook me off easily. "Don't touch them," I shouted again. He didn't listen. Instead, he grabbed me by the hair, yanked my head back, and slammed me against the wall. My knees buckled, stars bursting behind my eyes. From somewhere behind me, I heard Michael yell, "Don't! Please don't take us." The man didn't stop. He scooped Ethan up under one arm like luggage, grabbed Michael's wrist with his other hand, and dragged them toward the door. My mother didn't move. She just stood there, face blank. Ava crouched in front of me as I tried to get up, took off her sunglasses, and spat in my face. "You think you're better than me now?" she hissed. "Try me again, and next time it won't just be your house that gets wrecked." Then they were gone. All of them. In under 4 minutes. I don't remember crawling to the phone, just the metallic taste of blood in my mouth and the sound of Ethan's screams echoing in my head. I called 911, rattling off every detail I could, descriptions, license plate, even what my mom was wearing. I told them CPS already had an open file, that I had a recording of Ava admitting she didn't care about her kids and that I'd been assaulted. The dispatcher promised officers were on the way and asked if I needed medical attention. I said yes. By the time EMTs arrived, I was sitting on the kitchen floor, clutching a drawing Ethan had made. A picture of the three of us under a heart labeled anti-heart home in block letters. I wasn't their mother, but I'd been their safe place. And now they were gone. The EMT told me I was lucky. No concussion, just bruising. Didn't feel like luck. My whole body ached like I'd been run over. The officer who took my statement had kind eyes, but his jaw tightened when he saw the marks on my neck and collarbone. "This isn't just assault," he said quietly. "This is abduction." I handed him my phone with the recorded call from Ava. Every threat, every admission that the boys weren't her problem anymore. He added it to the evidence file and promised to alert CPS right away. But that night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed clutching Ethan's drawing, flinching at every sound outside. My mind kept replaying it, Michael's terrified face, Ethan kicking and screaming, my mother's silence. By morning, I was done waiting for someone else to fix this. I called CPS the moment their office opened. This time, a different agent answered, her tone clipped, almost bored. I told her everything again, the break-in, the assault, the abduction, the threats. She listened, then said, "We'll review the report and get back to you." Get back to me? I have proof she's dangerous. I have bruises, a police report, a recording. I understand, ma'am, she cut in. But the children are back with their biological parent now, so. She is a danger, I snapped. I need to know they're safe. I'll note the urgency, she said. And hung up. I wanted to scream. Instead, I called Eric. He picked up on the first ring. He'd been waiting. When I told him what happened, the break-in, the bruises, the boys being dragged out, he went silent for a beat. "You need a lawyer," he said. "I can't afford." "You can," he interrupted. "I just wired you $5,000. Find the best one you can." That afternoon, I walked into a family law office with sunglasses hiding the swelling around my eye and handed over everything I had. The recording, the medical report, the police statement, Ethan's drawing. The attorney, Daniela, read through it all in silence. Then she looked up. "You want custody?" "Yes." "You're not their legal guardian." "I know." "You're not their mother." "I know." "Then why?" I swallowed hard. "Because I'm the only one who cares enough to fight for them." She nodded. "Then let's burn it all down." By the end of the day, I'd signed petitions for emergency guardianship and filed a separate criminal complaint against Ava for breaking and entering, assault, and custodial interference. When I got home, I placed a bag of sour gummy worms in Ethan's drawing on the guest bed. His jacket was still hanging in the closet. I made a promise to that empty room. I will bring you home. I wore my Navy suit, the one I saved for job interviews and funerals. Hair pulled back, minimal makeup, my face calm even though my hands were shaking. Courthouse smelled like old carpet and stale coffee. Daniela was already there, reviewing her notes with military precision. She gave me a nod, half reassurance, half warning. Ava was late. When she finally walked in, it was like a storm had blown through the door. Ripped jeans, oversized hoodie, eyes bloodshot, hair unbrushed. She looked more like someone staggering out of a club bathroom at 3 a.m. than a mother in a custody hearing. Of course, my mom was with her, gripping her elbow like a pageant coach guiding her star. Ava spotted me and smirked, the same smirk she'd worn since childhood, the one that said, "You'll always be second." The judge, an older man with a deliberate, steady voice, began reviewing the charges: breaking and entering, assault, custodial interference. Then he looked at me. "Ms. Bennett, you've also filed a petition for emergency guardianship?" "Yes, Your Honor," I replied. Ava's head snapped toward me so fast her messy bun wobbled like a broken antenna. "What?" "Ms. Bennett, please control yourself," the judge said firmly. "You're trying to steal my kids?" she spat, glaring at me like I just committed a crime. "They're not safe with you," I said, keeping my tone even. "You crazy," she started, but the judge cut her off again. Her public defender looked like he hadn't slept in a week. Daniela leaned toward me and whispered, "Don't engage. Let her burn herself." But Ava couldn't stop. She stood, turned toward me, and screamed, "You backstabbing bitch!" Then launched herself across the courtroom. It happened fast. Her nails clawed at my face, her fists tangled in my hair, yanking so hard I thought she'd rip it out. I stumbled back, slamming into a bench, trying to shield my eyes as she swung. Felt endless, but in reality it was seconds before the bailiff tackled her off me, dragging her away as she kicked and shrieked. Just before they pulled her out, she lunged again and bit me hard on my forearm. I screamed, blood welling instantly. She laughed. She laughed. "You'll never get them, they're mine." The judge immediately called a recess. My mom didn't even glance at me as she followed Ava out. Paramedics cleaned the bite and told me I'd need a tetanus shot. My head was still buzzing when Daniela sat beside me and said softly, "Well, if anyone doubted her unfitness before, they don't now." I let out a shaky laugh. "Do I get extra points for surviving a feral attack in court?" "You might just get everything," she replied. That night, I lay in bed with my arm bandaged, listening to the voicemail Ava left from county jail, sobbing, blaming me, accusing me of destroying our family. I deleted it. 'Cause the truth was, there had never been a family to destroy. Not until those two boys showed up on my porch. And I was done letting anyone take them away from me. Took 17 more months. 17 months of hearings, home inspections, background checks, witness statements, and psychological evaluations. Ava pled not guilty to everything. She claimed I'd staged the break-in, that I attacked her, that I'd brainwashed her children. But the bite marks, the bailiff's testimony, the police report, the medical photos, the recorded call, they piled up higher than her lies could reach. Eventually, the court convicted her on all counts: breaking and entering, assault, custodial interference, and blackmail. She was sentenced to 15 years in prison, no parole. My mother avoided charges by testifying against her, something I'd never seen her do. On the stand, she wept, saying, "I didn't know it would go this far." They were crocodile tears. She never looked in my direction. I haven't seen her since. Custody fight wasn't over, though. Ava's ex, the boy's biological father, suddenly decided he wanted them. This was a man who hadn't spoken to them in over 3 years. A man who once forgot Michael's birthday twice in a row. A man who came to court smelling like vape juice, wearing sweatpants with a hole in the crotch. Even the judge looked unimpressed. It was brutal, expensive, and draining. But I didn't care. Every night I'd walk past the untouched beds, the unopened toy chests, the framed drawings on the hallway wall, and I knew this wasn't about winning. It was about bringing them home. 64 days after the boys were ripped from my arms, the letter arrived. Court finds that the petitioner, Ms. Elise Bennett, is granted full legal custody of minors Michael and Ethan Turner. I read it 3 times before the words sank in. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the envelope. The first person I called was Eric. The second I read the decision aloud, he shouted so loud I had to pull the phone from my ear. He booked a flight that night so we could celebrate together. When I arrived at the foster center, the boys were waiting by the window with their backpacks already on, as if afraid someone might change their mind. Ethan spotted me first. He bolted across the room and into my arms so fast we nearly toppled over. Michael followed more slowly, but when he hugged me, he clung to me for 5 full minutes without letting go. "I knew it," he whispered into my coat. "I knew you'd come back." Their rooms at home were ready. Bunk beds with Star Wars sheets, glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, shelves stacked with Lego sets and books. I had even framed Ethan's old drawing, the one of the crooked house with a heart above it and the words "Anti-Heart Home," and hung it above the staircase. When they saw it, Michael stopped, pointed, and asked, "You kept it?" "Of course," I said. He blinked, then looked up at me. "You really are our home now." That night, we ate homemade mac and cheese, played 3 rounds of Mario Kart, and laughed until our sides hurt. When I tucked them in, Ethan was holding the same stuffed dog I'd kept safe since that awful day. I kissed them both goodnight, turned off the light, and stood in the doorway for a long time, just listening to their steady, peaceful breathing. And I cried, not from sadness, not from anger, but because for the first time in my life I didn't feel unwanted. I wasn't the second daughter, or the backup plan, or the girl in the background. I was chosen. I was loved. I was needed. We weren't a perfect family, but we were real. And that was more than I had ever been given before.